Oh, Karen's
Yeah.
in.
Karen is
And
the
Karen.
chief.
I like the Christmas decorations. Good for
Elaine, are
you.
you with us?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So just Elaine. So, okay. Well, that's fine. Elaine, I'm sure we'll be able to jump in. I just forwarded her the link again.
There
Here she comes.
she's
Ah.
There she is.
Excellent. Excellent.
Gang's all here.
Okay, so thank you for everybody's patience. I would like to call the meeting, call to order the meeting of the Business Development Commission on December 9th, 2020 at 6:39. Do we have any members of the public online, Jay, that I can't see?
No, but if you would just make a note that Josh Ray is at Village Hall.
Ah, yes. So,
I've got it.
Awesome. You meant for David Pizzolatto, correct, Jay? To make
Yes,
note?
whoever's taking the minutes, so we have to have someone at Village Hall in case some from the public does come.
Yep. Got it.
All right, well, excellent. Since nobody from the public is here, I would like to move on to item number 3, reviewing the minutes from November 18th. Please take a couple minutes, and then after that, I will entertain a motion to either if there's any corrections that need to be made, or entertain a motion to approve the minutes from last.
Motion to approve.
What's that?
Motion to approve.
Oh, okay.
I'm all business tonight, baby. Let's go.
I like it. Do I have
I'll
a second?
second that.
Okay. At this point, all those in favor of approving the minutes from November 18th, please signify by saying aye.
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 All those opposed, say nay. Okay. The minutes are approved. Fantastic. Dave, you can get those sent over to Linda, and we can get those posted on the website. Okay, so as I mentioned to some of you that were in here earlier, there was I don't think we had our meeting at this time last year because of the holiday things. But as many of you probably noticed, the challenges with COVID-19 continue to progress. It is the cases in hospitalizations, ICU capacity. In Region 8, we are again below 20% ICU capacity, which is the danger zone. And then as a net result, of all those different cases, deaths, and hospitalizations, we've basically returned to a state of at least semi-lockdown. Now, I think that I would also like to sort of state that I apologize. We should have taken this up during last meeting. It should have been a topic of conversation. I think the branding meeting, as well as the combined meeting with the PR committee, I think, I was not as sharp on that, and I apologize for that. But I think one of the things at the village meeting, we've been having conversations basically about ways in which the village can add value or help during specifically our businesses that continue to be adversely affected by the increase in restrictions. But not only the increase in restrictions, but I think the reality is it's not just increase in restrictions, it's people's attitudes. I think we're at a point where people are genuinely concerned about this now at a much steeper rate than they were maybe 3, 4, 5 months ago. And so a combination of the increased restrictions as well as people's attitude, I think, continues to be a heavy burden on our local businesses. And there was a suggestion during our last village board meeting that we kind of, our group sort of maybe brainstorm some ways in which we can help. And I think it's important at this point to just point out some of the things that we have done, just so you guys are aware of. Jay, maybe you want to give some of the details of the gift certificate program that you had helped with Jeannie Meyer of the Chamber of Commerce coordinate.
Sure. I asked the village board about 3 weeks ago, I guess, if we could invest $5,000 in buying 10 $50 gift cards from each one of our restaurants in town, and we did, and which gave them an injection of $500 per restaurant. For some of those, that was a pretty good day. And then Jeannie put together a contest that hopefully you may have seen on Facebook and some other places, where if you spend at least $10 at 5 different restaurants and then turn in your receipts to the chamber, you can choose your choice of a free $50 gift certificate. So and that will get them to spend another $50 per person. So far, Jeannie told me this morning that they've had 4 people turn in their receipts and pick up 4 gift cards. And as expected, the Copper Barrel was the first 3 went to the Copper Barrel, and I think the 4th one went to Red Ox.
Okay, excellent. Thank you, Jay. And then in addition to doing that, one of the other things that we had did, and you know, to this board, I apologize. A lot of the stuff we're having to do quickly. You know, we don't have the luxury of sort of bringing everything before you and to get your opinion, just because, you know, in this situation, you know, time often is of the essence. So another thing that we voted on rather quickly at the village board was to help assist some of the restaurants in town to add a drive-through window that came at the suggestion of the restaurant owner, Mama Toom. I'm not sure. Has anybody tried Mama Toom's yet?
Oh, yeah.
It's
A
good.
couple times.
Yeah, as a lover of Thai food, it's up there. It's very good quality Thai food. So
Exceptional.
yeah,
it was
recommend. Both my wife and I really enjoyed it. But that being said, as a suggestion, so what we did is we created an approval and authorization for Jay Hedges to negotiate with local restaurants up to 3,000. Is it up to 3,000? Up to 15, Jay? Up to 3,000.
Up to 3,000 match.
Yeah. That's what I had.
Right.
To contribute to, we would contribute 50% up to $3,000 of whatever the cost would be to put in a drive-through window. So that's a second. I don't think anyone's actually taken advantage of this at that point, Jay, have they?
Not yet. Honestly, I really think Mama Toom will probably be the only one that will. She wants to put in a walk-up window next to her door so she doesn't have to come outside when she's not serving inside. But this would not apply to anybody like Dairy Queen who already has a drive-up. I guess technically Subway could do it, for example. There are a few like that already don't have a drive-up.
Yeah. But as you guys know, in local municipalities, specifically, you know, not being under home rule, so in some ways our hands are tied as to the things that we can do. And so we're trying to be creative. Another one that we've done sort of that I think is targeted at education as well as helping to make patrons feel safe is we really pushed through the PR committee an education program as far as just trying to link people in our community to the information about COVID, about, you know, best practices, about recommendations from the Illinois Department of Health, et cetera, on our web pages, sharing that in the Facebook Community Center. And then we also, through some conversations on the board, we created a no mask, no service sign that we distributed to a lot of the vendors here in town, both those that are serving food as well as those who are doing retail. And, you know, that was an attempt to make the customers feel comfortable knowing that they're not going to walk into a place of business and see people that are unmasked. So those are some of the things we've done to this point. Jay, is there anything else you wanted to share, Josh, that I overlooked? I wanted to share the things we have done. You
might want to just mention the test site that we had yesterday at the high school.
Oh, 100%. So and Jay, I thought that was originally supposed to be on Wednesday. Did that move? I checked my communications. It said Wednesday, no?
There might have been a typo somewhere, but no, it's always been Tuesday. Okay. So it was yesterday, and we did have 258 people. It was a steady flow the entire day. And in Carpentersville, they tested 400 on a Saturday. So I think for a weekday, that's pretty good. And they never slowed down, but they really never had to wait more than about 30 minutes either.
So, and that was really a stroke of luck. Go ahead, Suze.
I just asked how long before they get those test results back?
It was the PCR test, which is the kind of the gold standard. It takes, I think, about minimum of about 3 days, but normally about 5 days. They did say if you're positive that you'll receive your results sooner.
And really, that
results are too once they get done. Positivity rate.
Yeah, no, I think that would be good to know. One of the things, if you guys are interested, so obviously data is one of the things that, I'm sort of one of my passions. And one of the other trustees, Trustee Kelly, had shared with me a link where Northwestern is basically charting just 60140 positivity tests and results. So I'll send that out after the meeting just so that everybody can have it. But it's really nice to get sort of a local snapshot. So But I can share that as well. But I think it would be good to get that. Now, I do want to mention that, Jay, you deserve a lot of credit. I had asked Jay how, because we originally were planning on bringing in a private testing company that would be a for fee. I think it was $150 for a test, if I remember correctly. Correct me if I'm wrong, Jay. And Jay reached out to the county, who had originally told him that they did not have any opportunity to set it up in Hampshire, and then circumstances had changed. I think, Jay, or Josh, did they have a cancellation of some kind?
Yeah, the assistant director just called me last Thursday, I guess it was, maybe last Wednesday. So we had about 5 days to promote it. And she said they had a cancellation somewhere else. If we could grab that date, we could grab it.
Okay.
So we did. And we still have the contact information for 2 companies out of California that would do private test sites, and they would come and set up and stay set up for several weeks as long as there's demand. So if things do get worse, depending on how long it takes for the vaccine to roll out, then we are prepared to move forward with. It wouldn't cost the village anything, but each person would have to pay.
Right. So with that, those are some of the things that we're doing. And so I just wanted to poll our group. I did some reading in the Main Street over the last week or so, looking for articles to see what other people around the country are doing. I even did some Googling and some Binging, and I also even blew a call into a couple fellow elected officials in some of the other towns that I've gotten to know through Metro West. But I was kind of curious. I wanted to open up to the group here to see, let's have a brainstorming session. I'm looking just for some ideas and some opinions on some of the other things that we might be able to do.
I've got a question. Is there a type of business that, like, I'm sure all business has been impacted, but what should our focus be surrounding the brainstorm? Is it purely entertainment? Is it service-based businesses? Do we have a good pulse on what's happening to the businesses out there?
Jay, if you want to go ahead and, I've got some comments on that, but you're a little bit closer to the scenario than I am. You interact with them. Comment briefly. I've been in weekly, sometimes several times a week, conversations with each one of our bar and restaurant owners. So I know very much what's going on there. I can tell you some of them are struggling. A couple of them pretty tough financially. And others are just surviving. Nobody's really doing very well right now. One thing that I heard on a conference call yesterday, and I believe I shared this maybe by email, I shared it with the village board, Ryan. One thing that I was on a call with Michael Isaacson, who's an assistant director of health for Kane County for community health. Just a terrific guy. He's been very, very accessible. Kelly and I have both been emailing with him for several weeks, and he was on a conference call yesterday with about 40 village managers and mayors. One thing that he mentioned I hadn't heard before is that in fact, I asked the question, are they having many problems with manufacturing and warehouse facilities? And he said that's actually one of the biggest spreaders that they have right now is employers, specifically manufacturing and warehouse, not so much office. And they do have a lot of authority. He mentioned that they had only written 4 warning tickets for dining or bar establishments in all of Kane County, and they were not finding anybody yet. That was a decision of the prior administration. As you probably all know, we have a new county board chairperson and a new state's attorney now, so that could all change. But he did mention that about, I think it was 18% of, I'm going to call it spread, I think he had a more technical term, transmission, I think was the term he used, is coming from these manufacturing and warehouse facilities in Kane County. So Kane County does go in really aggressively. You might all recall that Smithfield, one of their facilities in Kane County, was shut down early in the spring. And so they will shut down one of those businesses because they actually are having people test positive on site. And so they will be aggressive. They have a lot of authority in that area because it's a public health hazard or risk. So that's kind of what I can tell you about our local companies. I'm hearing it sounds like a Skype call coming in, but I don't know who it's from.
Yeah, I don't know either. I was trying to look.
It's typically that sound is when somebody's dialing out on Teams.
Okay. So I think that's really about all I can tell you. As you know, we only have a couple of small retailers in town, and I'm sure they're struggling, but I haven't spoken to them as much.
And I would say, in answer to that question, Dave, sort of to dovetail, our responsibility is to all businesses, obviously, in the community. Manufacturing, at least, that's the field that I'm in. We've come through relatively unscathed, thankfully. At least manufacturing has done. I mean, that's across a lot of sectors. Medical specifically has done great. So I think manufacturing not being, I mean, despite what Jay had just said, obviously with the potential COVID issues, but as far as from a P&L perspective, or areas where we can sort of help or think about ways to help, I'm generally thinking of those people that are frequented from the public, on a daily basis, bars, restaurants, retail places. Like I said, we don't have a lot of those in town, but those would be the areas I would think that are going to be the most heavily hit. We don't have any travel companies or cruise companies or airline companies or anything like that, obviously, who are also hit, very hard. But I think those would be the ones.
Club is doing pretty well because they're talking about expanding their space.
Who is that?
Who's that?
Jay?
The health club over at Bruce, I forgot the name of it now. The health
Snap
club next to
Fitness.
Mama Tombs.
Snap Fitness.
Snap Fitness.
Okay.
So does anybody have any thoughts or ideas?
It's better.
To drive more business?
I mean, so obviously some of the things we've done is the $500 gift card, or the $5,000 investment, obviously, into the individual places, which is basically a direct cash infusion, with, obviously, hopefully driving traffic. We have the drive-through window, which we think will only affect one place. We have the no mask, no service. Just curious, one of the things I've tried to post, I try not to go into Facebook real often, just for my own mental health. But and I mean that seriously, but I've been trying to encourage people to shop local. I'll probably put another post up, but try not to do it too often. People get, they grow tired of it. And I think, but so there's that. We can continue to, through the PR committee or through individual postings on Facebook, is to encourage people that, now is the time to shop local. We all have choices to make with our disposable dollars, and the people that we want to see be here when this is all over are the people we need to support now. But short of just curious if there's any other thoughts of ways that we can. We're already doing the Hampshire's very own, which we'll get to in a second. We're already writing articles to highlight individual companies. Perhaps we can steer that maybe now more towards our retail and entertainment customers. I know Jimmy's Sports Bar is listed pretty far down. Perhaps we could move that up. I don't know. I'm open to anything. So I'll open the floor.
Ryan, you talked about the potential for some of these restaurants to do like a window, right? Like a drive-through window, but are they participating? Do we feel like retail and restaurants are doing like curbside pickups, or is there a way we can help, even like if they don't normally deliver, maybe they could allocate some funds instead of doing a window towards, doing a delivery service for limited hours? Have we thought about that?
That has not come up. I mean, it's an interesting point. I think a lot of them at this point, Jay, are definitely offering it. And, Jay and Josh are in the community all, daily. And so I keep yielding to them. Things are changing rapidly, but I'm quite confident I've ordered from every single restaurant about 5 or 6 times, through this whole thing. And I think they've all had curbside pickup for sure. And I think I think many of them also have delivery as well, but I don't know if you can speak to that.
Yeah, I think the biggest challenge right now, and I think Mickey from the Copper Barrel she keeps in touch with pretty much everybody. She's kind of the leader of the pack with our restaurants. Her biggest problem is with all the Nico's and all the surrounding restaurants being open for dine-in, that's really hurt our carry-out business. She was doing really pretty well, she said, in the spring when everybody was closed down with just outdoor dining, and then her carry-out business was really good. But now that there are other options close by that are open, my kids came out to take me out for my birthday party, and we went to Nico's because everything else was closed for lunch. Well, it turns out the Copper Barrel was open. I thought they were closed. And we were the only ones that sat in the tent outside. Everybody else was indoors. So I think just the lack of enforcement in other communities has made it difficult for our restaurants.
You know what, Jay, though, I'm just gonna say that I'm hearing over at our store, people that are commenting on who is complying, who is not complying, and which restaurants they will not go to because their people are inside and they don't feel safe. So it's a double-edged sword. People want to open up and they want to encourage people to come in, but it might have longstanding repercussions for them. So maybe just even focusing how each organization, what they're doing to keep you safe. I know people have come to our store over and over again because of the fact that we're so vocal about what we're doing. You know, the masks are required. Here, come in, use the hand sanitizer as you walk through the door. I can't tell you how many people say they come to our store versus others because of that. So I don't know if maybe we can, I don't know if there's a way maybe that each individual restaurant or whatever can just offer, here's what we're doing to keep you safe. I know there's a sign up at Snap Fitness, and I've seen other signs that say, we're asking that you wear a mask. However, if you don't wear a mask, if you've got a health concern, you don't have to wear a mask. And for your own privacy, we won't ask you if you're not wearing a mask, which is basically saying, you know, we're not going to enforce it. And there's comments out in the community about it.
Just some idea. No,
Thank you, Elaine. I appreciate that. Go ahead, Dave.
I think that's good. I think a lot of the restaurants and stuff and bars in the area not only cater to Hampshire residents, and I think that in the current situation and climate, we've gotten very micro focused around each and everybody's neighborhoods and towns. So I think it's not necessarily the residents of Hampshire frequenting these businesses more often. It's probably how do we draw neighboring communities, residents there to frequent? Because there's only, like, I think of myself, same with you, Ryan. I mean, we have been to so many of these restaurants so many times, right? And we can ask the town, and you can tell the town is very gracious of the businesses that have been in town. We do anything we can for our businesses, but I think the hidden opportunity is what can be put in place to attract people to leave their community to do a curbside pickup, to do a delivery. Thinking of some, because I'm sure anybody that's maybe in Huntley or Pingree or any other neighboring community is probably in the same boat as we are. Is that I frequented everything in my local area. How do I go out and maybe not have to drive? Can I get delivery from Hampshire? You know, is there a way to make sure that everyone's on like an Uber Eats or Grubhub or DoorDash or, you know, something like that? And I think there could be a collective group of restaurant owners that could probably band together and reach out to a delivery service of some sort. And then they could have one marketing push of saying, tired of, you know, what you've had around your neighborhood, and start saturating other local markets within the area and provide it delivery. You don't have to come all the way out to Hampshire. We'll come to you.
I think that's a really good idea. I also think it might capture those people who don't want to drive in the dark out on the country roads or whatever. There's a lot of those. All of Del Webb, I can promise you. But that's a really good idea, I think.
I like
Copper Barrel's delivering, and I know they come to Del Webb. Rosati's will come to Del Webb. I don't know which of the others will deliver that far away.
I wonder if there is. I feel like we're stronger together than we are on our own. You can make a much more penetrated message versus having multiple messages coming in. So is there a way that we can actually have maybe, you know, this is something for the chamber to get a coalition of these owners that say, I'm in, and then go out there with a marketing piece that talks about all these restaurants as one versus individual messages going out.
Well, Ryan, what was I could check in tomorrow with some of them and see what they are doing for delivery.
Okay.
And if there's any way that we could somehow contract with DoorDash or somebody that would commit to working with our restaurants, and maybe the village could somehow subsidize the delivery. Josh and I'll look into that tomorrow.
Can I
Thank you.
suggest also, because we've talked to some restaurants here in the Barrington area, and they've complained pretty bitterly about like Grubhub and DoorDash. Some people have had great experiences. Other restaurants have said, you know, they say we're closed when we're open, the menus are all screwed up, or the fees are, you know, enormously high. And there's one restaurant we go to quite a bit that was really hesitant about jumping on the delivery bandwagon, and they had to at this point, right, to survive. And so they took up with a company called Toast Takeout.
Yep.
So that might be another avenue to look at as well. They felt that the fees were more reasonable. I've ordered off of it. It's really user friendly. So that might just be another suggestion.
Is that TOES?
Toast. Yeah, like toast and eggs. Yep.
I think also too, if you were able to get a bunch, like a group of restaurants together, they might be able to hire their own delivery drivers that can cross pickup, you know.
So that's what I'm wondering, Dave. Exactly. Like if people can't use the funds maybe for like a drive up window, can they allocate that towards paying, you know, delivery people, right? Is that what you're thinking?
Yeah, because I'm thinking like if you were to go to like a Del Webb, you could probably batch, you know, 10 orders at a time across multiple different restaurants, and you have one person going, making all deliveries versus numerous people going back and forth.
No, I think that's a really sound idea.
A push too that they had. They kind of said, oh, listen, this one restaurant said we're going to be doing deliveries between 4 and 6 p.m. on Friday and Saturday. You know, like it was posted on Facebook. So if you'd like, here's the menu, you know, maybe, and this one particular restaurant did a limited menu, but it's like, they offered a narrow window. They hired someone to drive and do those deliveries within that area. That might be another way to do it, where it's not just open all day, but, you know, here's 4 to 6 or 5 to 7 or whatever it is.
Yep.
That's a great idea, Dave. Yeah. To band together like that. That might be an option.
No, I like that a lot. So, Jay, you think that's something you could have a conversation with some of the restaurants tomorrow?
Yes, for sure. Find out what they're doing now and whether they think that would be helpful, and if so, we can start looking into Totes and other organizations that might be able to help.
Because I'm thinking that they really, thinking of all the restaurants in town, they don't really compete with one another, right?
Not too much. I mean, I guess you would say that Red Ox and Copper Barrel are kind of the same market, but
technically, yeah.
I think a great promotion. Maybe we should have a deal where they can sign up and choose which trustee they'd like to have their meal delivered by.
You know what? It's funny. I think that's funny. But like, what about seeing if there are people? I mean, because one of the things I've found,
VIP delivery I've talked to people.
Yeah, citizens is that, you know, they want to help. And there's not a lot. This is one of those, I think, crises. I've asked several places, from Trevor to nurses to, you know, Trevor Herman, you know, where are opportunities to volunteer and to help? And there's not, you know, it's one of those things. It's, you know, professional medical people at this point, or the, you know, people that are doing all the heavy lifting. But perhaps we have people, I bet we have people in our community to be willing to even offer that up for, you know, a service that they would be willing to do that perhaps doesn't even have to cost, you know. I certainly would do it, you know, for a weekend, or, you know, or for you know, however many time would sign up, and I'm sure I'm not alone in that case.
Awesome. Then if somebody can send me the menu from Copper Barrel, so I have Mr. bring me and Lisa some dinner, I'm in.
As long as Lisa's eating, I'm in.
I'm not saying I tip so well, but at least.
Hey, I used to deliver Fridays on a college campus. I don't need to get tips.
I will say one thing, and we did this back in the spring. I just mentioned it to Josh this week. I was buying lunch at Chicken Dip about every other Friday for the village staff. And that, of course, helped everybody out. It definitely raised morale. And Josh and I went around and delivered the meals to everybody at lunchtime. They're closed now, but I think maybe starting this Friday, we'll start buying lunch for the village employees. There's 15 or 20 of us on duty at the same time. And that helps out. That's a several $100 order for each restaurant to kind of rotate.
And Jay, maybe to add to the idea, if there are restaurants that aren't open during those hours, like I'm just thinking like Chicken Dip, if they wanted to make themselves available to be part of this program, but they wouldn't have any walk-up service or anything like that, they would just make to order. That could also be feasible as well.
Right.
Mhm.
All right.
Yeah, that's
We'll
a great
definitely
idea.
Take all these good suggestions.
Would they even be, my dad does that too, right? At Stanley, like he loves to go and just buy everybody lunch. And it is great. And I wonder if we either ourselves or even through the chamber were to, encourage business owners and say, hey, here's a great idea.
Yeah.
Local restaurants are offering a 10% discount if you order, above a certain dollar amount or whatnot. Order for your entire staff, make them feel good. Here's a great way to say thanks for all your hard work.
Like a business lunch special or.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think that's a great idea.
I think that's something
what I
Jeannie
think-
can really help us with. So we'll talk to Jeannie about that.
Yeah. And this, honestly, Karen, too, from your perspective, I know it's not on the agenda to talk about tonight, but the ambassador program, this might be an interesting, if, you wanted to maybe, Jay, if you could keep Karen in the loop on your communications with Jeannie, I think that, starting to have conversations and connections with the local CEOs would be, or whatever, general managers or wherever it happens to be. No, I think that's a great suggestion.
Yeah.
Which,
Yeah, that's
to
a big
Jay's point, can have a big impact. You get a whole company food, that takes a lot of walk-up business to replace that, a lot. Or to equal that. So, okay. All right. Any other, I don't want to cut this short, in case there's some other great ideas out there. Any other thoughts on creative ways that we can support businesses during this time? Elaine, you had mentioned, go ahead, Suze. Go ahead.
No, that's okay, because mine's a little off topic. Go ahead, Elaine.
I wasn't going to say anything.
No, I was going to ask Elaine, because you're in a retail non-food bar business. I'm curious from your perspective and other, we have, several other retailers in town. Are there things that are sort of sort of restaurant bar specific that, that a company like you could use?
I was thinking about it as you were talking. Again, I think the fact that we've had a steady stream of customers. I mean, we are having the retirement sale, but we're making sure they feel totally safe when they come in. So they're coming in and they're spending several $100s each time they walk in, because but again, I mean, it's a retirement sale, but they are lingering, and that's what you want, is somebody to feel comfortable enough that they hang around instead of just grabbing and going. So everything I put out there, every email, everything talks about here's what we're doing to keep you safe, and it has made a difference.
Okay, awesome.
I can't think of anything else except to make people feel comfortable.
Okay, excellent. All right, Susie, you said you had something you wanted to say?
Well, this really doesn't apply to businesses, and I don't know how we can work this in, but this has been on my mind for the last couple of weeks. I'm very passionate about it. There are so many parents that are having to be forced to be homeschool teachers. My thought in my head is there's some way the community could get together people that are maybe retired teachers, or maybe not even retired, but women or men who've stepped away from the profession and have the time available now to offer their services to the community as tutors. to have a huge community outreach for those parents that are struggling with maybe 2 or 3 kids at home, helping those kids. And I guess in my mind, I envisioned maybe some of the churches opening up at a limited capacity, maybe their basements or whatever, and providing a space for some of these kids. I was telling the people on the call before some of you got on that I had to help homeschool granddaughters today. And this, Zoom with 17 kids, and when the teacher calls on a kid and they turn on their microphone, all the background noise and that child is trying to focus, a first grader, and they've got all this stuff going on at home. And it just really impressed upon me that if there's something we as a community could do to support parents, I think that would just make them more trusting and appreciative of the community that they live in. And I do know that in New York City, one person put out the call for tutors and got 4,000 people to volunteer. Of course, that's New York City, but we might get 50. Who knows who's out there that might be willing to just say, I'll volunteer my time to help. And I just think for those parents that are working, it would just speak well for the community. And I know that's not business related, but that's just been on my heart.
But it is business related, Susie, because some of those parents might have to be at home, right, with their kids and not be able to go to work or not take a shift or not go in for the day. So that's a fantastic idea. And I think it absolutely affects the business community.
One thing, Susie, that I just want to make sure you're all aware of, and I wasn't until today. I was on a call with Laura Shaw today from the Park District, and it was a Zoom call. So she was actually at the Park District daycare, and they have workstations set up with protective plexiglass, and the kids bring their tablets from school that the school gives them. And what did she call it, Josh? Was it, I think she called it virtual day camp and or study camp, because these kids are all studying virtually at daycare, and it's K through 5. And she had 40 kids in this, I think it was in the gymnasium at the middle school. So these kids are all, the Park District is not just babysitting, they're doing all the Zoom, are all their virtual learning with them also. So that's, I think what you're envisioning is happening. I'm just not sure we have enough space.
Right.
She did say it's free right now because they got some funding, some COVID funding for it.
That was my question. Was it free? I'm thinking like the Methodist Church. I'm the large Methodist Church might have. I mean, I'm just thinking of churches might have some availability in buildings and size. It doesn't have to be in a school.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think that's a brilliant idea, and there's all I do is have conversations with people now who talk about having to work and homeschool their kids at the same time, and what a real challenge it is. My sister is a teacher and has a 7 and a 5-year-old that is going through e-learning. It is incredibly challenging. I'm just not sure what levers we have outside of, I don't know if you have any thoughts on it, Jay, is to, where the municipality could assist in helping sort of facilitate some of this, help that these.
I tell you that I think what Laura's doing is really, they've taken on a lot. I mean, it's amazing work, but it's really a job. I don't know how many volunteers she had, but she may have had 5 or 6 staff people there and volunteers that were helping almost 40 kids, K through 5. So it would take a lot really to put something like that together, I think.
I know, it is. I will tell you that I was babysitting 2 granddaughters, both 7, both in 1st grade, in 2 different schools. The quality of education from one compared to the other was drastically different. And what a teacher is able to do and how creative they can be. And that's why it made me realize that if we had some people that are really passionate about teaching that can really relate to kids. I mean, bless this teacher heart, I'm sure she was doing what the school told her to do, but I was bored. Whereas my other 7-year-old granddaughter was actively engaged with a pre-recorded video and doing great. So, I just think about what horrible things those parents are going through watching their kids and how those kids are struggling.
Yeah, no, I think it's we all share that thought.
I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
Another thought though about with the kids being schooled at home, one of the things that we've been able to do, we're watching our grandchild too, and while his brother is being e-schooled, but one of our kids is actually upstairs at the quilt shop, and because he's working remotely, but he can't work while he's at home with Amelia and Owen and everything. So what's happening is they're dropping off Anderson at our house, and then Dave's going and he's upstairs at the quilt shop. Perhaps some of these businesses that are not at full capacity, maybe they've got a little bit of space. All Dave wanted was some peace and quiet. And then he explains to everybody why there's quilts all around him. And he's, why is bringing up these creaky quilts here? But that might be an opportunity to take advantage of a need. He needed to get away to have some peace and quiet to make his customer calls. He's in sales. I wonder if any of our businesses in town might be able to do that.
That's exactly what I was thinking, because I'm picturing Copper Barrel. If they can't have indoor dining, but they could have those kids spaced 12 feet apart at a table with maybe a volunteer, and then maybe there would be some way to compensate the business for the space that they're giving up.
No, they'd have to be compensated for it if we
Right.
were. Then it benefits everybody.
They would just have
That's
to be
interesting.
careful, though, with the liability. I mean, I think that there's now at this point, I'm on the board of Boys and Girls Club in Dundee Township, and we've set up distance learning centers at all of our school sites, 7:30 to 5:30. And we were concerned about liability, right? But I think at this point, there's just sort of an underlying understanding that, you sort of give up any, the liability is pretty much generally covered. I just wonder though, like from a business standpoint, if they can't have like people in there, would they be able to transform that into like an education site? Or would the city put the kibosh on that? Not the
Right.
city, like the state of Illinois, I should say. Put the kibosh on that for.
I'm thinking about the resource bank. They've got that old school that's attached to the bank itself. You get 5 or 6 kids in there, it'd be a perfect place to tutor.
I mean, if the school district could get involved, that would make it a heck of a lot easier, or the park district even, if they've already got something in place that might be, they could possibly expand. And if anyone wants to talk to anyone at Boys and Girls Club with anything, just for some insight, I'm sure.
Well, I will talk to Laura again tomorrow and ask her if they have enough space or if they need more help or if they could use an additional facility. But I think to build on a place that's already offering it, Karen, makes a lot of sense because they know what to expect.
Right. Yeah, reach out to her, Jay, and see if there's anything that we could do, as a village to support them and support the community. I just think it would be advantageous.
I think that's a good suggestion, Susan.
And one other quick thing to pile on, and I'm going to jump on what Elaine had said. That I think it's either a son or son-in-law comes to their place and goes upstairs and work. There are probably other business people, that need to get out of their house and have a quiet place to go too. So if you had something like that set up that you can offer.
Yeah.
Well, and
That-
then he
That's a
said
good
he
idea.
definitely would be willing to do that and pay for that space. Of course, not
Exactly.
us, but we have to support the families so that people can keep working and be productive and keep their jobs, or they won't be able to order. It doesn't matter what kind of delivery service we have set up. If people are tight on money or worried about that, but
Yeah, great.
I'll tell you what, this is a real opportunity for an entrepreneur who could come up with a little, almost I'm thinking like a storage container where you could, a shipping container where you could put 5 or 6 cubicles in there, Wi-Fi to it. I mean, a virtual coffee shop, basically.
The only problem is right now, I believe in the next month, most kids are already scheduled to go back to school.
But
That's the only thing.
Hopefully.
there might be parents who still have to work from home that might want to get away. So look at Copper Barrel. Can you imagine how many businessmen could just sit up there, maybe work there? I don't know, just an idea.
No, I think that's definitely something. I think Jay mentioned he's going to talk with Laura Schraw, I think, to see sort of where she's at in terms of capacity versus demand. But I also think, to Jay's point, I actually had that idea 10 years ago. Usually, as usual, I'm 10 years too early on most of my ideas, but it is. I mean, the idea of working remotely is becoming more and more common. And in, metropolitan spaces, there's companies like, it's a big company. I can't think of the name of it. But no, I think for sure that's an opportunity. That might be a conversation with Jeannie at the chamber to see about communicating, because I think that marketing is shifting too. And I would sort of yield to Dave and some of the other people that run bigger businesses than I do. But the notion of sort of appealing to your consumers' consciences seems to be more in vogue today than it was maybe 20 years ago. And I think it could be an opportunity for businesses to show their willingness to help, to jump into the situation. Obviously, I think Karen's points about liability and things like that need to be taken, very seriously, but it could be a unique opportunity. So I'm going to make a note to give Jeannie a call tomorrow and just maybe make some of those suggestions, and then to have her circle back with you, Jay, too, or between the two of us, we'll get that information over to her. Okay, anybody else have any other suggestions? These have been really good. I actually wasn't sure what to expect tonight, and you guys have done a great job as usual. Okay. All right. Well, we're going to act. Go ahead.
Have we ever thought of doing like a New Year's special, since some of the bars are having difficulty? If maybe they could pool the resources and do a New Year's raffle, so somebody could win champagne and something like that, and it'd be a raffle, so people would be investing in it to win a prize to get that for New Year's Eve to celebrate the end of 2020 finally.
Well, yeah, to dovetail on that, I know there are some restaurants in the area that are making their specialty cocktails for to go, right? Yeah. And the one who I think is doing it the best is the Village Squire. They're known for Mai Tais and rum barrels, and you can go in there and they have everything pre-mixed in a jug, and they have a bottle of booze, and you basically just mix it at home, and it's exactly the same, So I'm wondering if there's an opportunity for our bars to take advantage of something like that. Every bar can have their own signature drink. I don't know what the Village stances on allowing to-go orders, but it might be just an option for that group of businesses.
You can make it a competition too. Have people vote after like a month. Who came up with the best signature drink.
Right.
Yeah.
That would be fun.
And since most people are going to be relatively close to home this year, hopefully, I think you could really draw in some, heavy participation from our local people. I think that's actually a really, really good idea.
I mean, the restaurants can get involved in that too, right? And they could do like one alcoholic and one non-alcoholic, one designated driver drink and one, passenger side drink or something. That would be kind of fun.
And we can post the results on Facebook, right? So, Lord knows we get a lot of activity in that space, both the community network as well as our village page. But I think there's some definite merit to that idea as well, specifically around New Year's Eve, where I think we're going to have a lot more people, in town than maybe perhaps we normally would. So, no, that's a great idea too. I like that. Okay, any other thoughts? Anything else? No? Okay. All right. Excellent job. Jay, I'd like to circle back with you tomorrow maybe and talk about a couple of these things in a little bit more detail. Maybe I can give you a call tomorrow morning on the road. Okay, I will do that. And then I'll put out the minutes a little quicker this year or this month. Not the minutes, but sort of action items and notes so that we're aware of that. Okay. It's gone. We've been at it an hour, which is great. I appreciate the feedback. Jay, any update on we still sort of laying low on the code violations? I know you've had conversations with Sakalari at the Palazzolos as well as the Edmondsons at the Dollar Store. Any further progress?
Actually, I do have an update for you tonight, and a very positive one in both cases. I spoke to both owners again today. I talked to Don Edmondson. Actually, that was yesterday. He called me, and that was a follow-up to the conversation I had with his wife, Maile. And I'll take them one at a time, but I'll also mention that I did also talk to Patrick, the owner of Palazzolos. Mm-hmm. And first of all, I sent them we did Safe Built, for all of you who've been involved in this for a long time, Safe Built is our new building department. They drafted a letter listing the code violations, the maintenance code violations. And instead of just sending up violations, as I explained to this group the last time, I called each one of them and told them that they had violations, that I was going to email them a draft letter, but that we'd really prefer to work this out together. So the bottom line is that I'll start with Edmondson's. They've been working with a contractor to get some quotes to improve the facade and also make some changes on the interior of the buildings to make them a little more marketable. And they have 3 addresses there that used to be the dollar store. And I mentioned the facade improvement program to Don, and he seemed to know about it, but he wasn't sure how it worked. And I promised Bill that you would visit with him, and he knows you well, it sounds like. And so he would like some advice. He expects to have some quotes from his contractors, I think Thursday or Friday this week. So I wanted to mention it to this board here first and confirm with Bill that it's okay. In this case, it might be better for him to maybe get some advice, Bill, before he submits an application. I don't know if you've done that before, where you've consulted with people before.
You're on mute, Bill.
That's funny because you responded once I said, yes, I have. That's funny. It sounded like I answered you and you were telling me I was on mute. That was funny. No, that's fine. I do know Don. I just don't have his current contact info.
I'll email it to you, sure. I'll email it to you first thing.
Okay.
First thing tomorrow. So that was positive. I'd say that first of all, they're the ones that really have the peeling paint and quite a few code violations. So they're ready to move forward. They did talk about getting a loan from the bank, so I don't think that they're in a position to do this on their own. But then I think his original, I think he mentioned to me around a $30,000 project, which seems a little low for that large of a building. So, but that was what he was prepared to borrow from. I did mention that both Resource Bank and what's the other bank that has they also have facade.
First American used to have something. I don't know if it's still in place, but
right.
Yeah.
But he seemed to have a bank in mind already, but I told him they had programs that would cooperate with ours. So I really think that they'll take advantage of it. We do have about $20,000 left in the program for the current year. But I think, Ryan, if we go to the village board and we really have, if these 2 properties in particular want to do something, I think we should go to the board and ask for additional funding for the program. And then, so to speak to Palazzolo's and Patrick, he's an interesting guy. He's a very dynamic guy. He has his own formula for what he wants to do with that property. He said he owns 10 buildings that include restaurants. His father's first generation Greek immigrant, who I believe is a restaurateur himself. And so Patrick said that his dad told him only take 5-star tenants. So he's very picky about who he'll let in there. And he sort of implied that was the reason that he hadn't really promoted the place too much. But I think, Ryan, you had speculated once before that he did tell me, this is, I don't think it's anything confidential. He did buy the property from a bank. So it had been in foreclosure, I think, prior to that. So Ryan had speculated he didn't pay much for the property. He told me that. Didn't tell me how much, but he said he didn't pay much for it. He bought it from a bank out of Florida. And so I think he's been kind of waiting for Hampshire to become a hot property, but I really encouraged him that this is the time to do it. And at 4 o'clock this afternoon, he committed that he would improve the code violations and that he would work with us to get that updated. And also his biggest issue is that shake roof canopy that he has. That has a lot of missing shake tiles, and so he needs to that and not having an address on the front of his building are really the only code violations he has. The front of his building is bad as far as peeling paint and all, like the dollar store does. So, but anyway, that was I've really found this to be true in Hampshire. Most of these people really want to cooperate. First of all, you have to catch them on the right day at the right time, and I guess I was lucky with both of them a couple weeks ago, and then again today and yesterday. So I think they're both interested. In particular, I think the Edmondsons would like to do something right away. And then I do have there's an individual who's interested in a Mexican restaurant in Hampshire, and I'm trying to connect him up with, at first I thought Palazzolo's might be a good space. He thought 2,500 square feet. but now he's talking about a little more space than that. He talked about maybe taking over part of the dollar store. So it might be better to maybe show him the dollar store so he could have whatever amount of space he wants. One thing that Palazzolo's does have is he cleaned all that out. You may have seen a bunch of the old equipment, but he kept everything that's good. So he basically has enough kitchen equipment to get a small restaurant started. And what he's really looking for in that space at 2,400 square feet, it's long and narrow, as most of you probably know, a little more so than Mama Tombs would be, which is similar square feet at Bruce's Mall. But what he perceives as somebody who would have a small restaurant with just 3 or 4 tables and then a lot of carry out, which would be conducive to a lot of Mexican restaurants. This particular gentleman I'm talking to now about a restaurant is looking for something with a little more dine-in space. And a very traditional Mexican restaurant. I can't remember if it was this group, Ryan, or maybe the village board, where somebody was talking about kind of almost a gourmet taco place. Is it called street tacos maybe?
Salsa Street.
Salsa Street.
Right, that's what it was. And I asked him about that. And he said, no, he doesn't want to go after that sort of gourmet market. He's going after the traditional Mexican restaurant. And he does he's like 3rd generation restaurateur himself. So I'm really optimistic that we will have, at least the owners of the property is very cooperative and moving forward here. There's only a certain amount of things that can be done this time of year. But for example, the dollar store, Edmondson's, we're talking about siding rather than painting. And so that could be done this time of year. Outdoor painting is the one thing that we can't do right now. So Bill, I'll send you Don's contact information tomorrow morning, and then if you want to reach out to him, I think he's ready to do something.
Consider it done.
Outstanding.
On that note,
go ahead.
I was just gonna say, there also is potential property available with Joe Lazar's strip mall too, right?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So
I've had a hard time getting a hold of Joe. The last time I spoke to him, it's probably been 6 months, but the last time we spoke, he had to have 2 more leases. He has 2 tentative leases as far as I know. And he needed 2 more leases before the bank would let him start construction. And I've tried to reach him 3 or 4 times in the last couple of months, and I haven't gotten a return phone call. So he may be afraid that somehow I'm trying to push him into starting construction, but he's always been approachable. Maybe I'll just drop into the gas station one of these days. He hangs out over there quite a bit.
All right. Joe's a close personal friend of mine. So let me put a call into him as well. Just as a friend, just to see what's up.
When you talk about space, Dave, you mean as far as future tenants?
Yeah, I'm just thinking if somebody approaches the village and obviously maybe something on Main Street doesn't work for them, we have other properties potentially that they could be into.
Bruce Burklow, he has some things coming. So I've offered to help, and I've offered your services too, Ryan, that you and I would meet with any prospects that he has. And he has a couple right now that are pretty promising. You might want to talk to him, but he's kind of keeping it a little low profile, I think, right now. The good news is I think I mentioned to this group the last time that I've had contact from 3 different developers or realtors looking for space for a dollar store, actually Dollar General. It's all the same company, but so far it doesn't look like anything's really panning out in that area.
Okay. Excellent. Thank you. And I said the one thing I was going to say, if we could stay on Palazzolo's and the dollar store, we know that it takes pressure for them to get things across the finish line. I was
just going to say, Jay, do you have a timeline in your head where if you don't see movement by March, April, have you put any thought into that?
Yes. Well, when first of all, Don Edmondson is prepared to do something right now, because I asked about painting, in the winter, and he said, well, we're planning on doing some sort of siding. So I didn't ask him what it was going to look like, but I know Dave Bill would have some good suggestions on what he might use. But that could be winter work, and he didn't sound like he was trying to put anything off till spring. I didn't get quite as warm and fuzzy a feeling from Patrick. I think he was more just trying to get past the conversation. So I told him that I did eventually send both of them the draft letter with the violations in it and the letter and an email asking them to get back to me. So he did commit to responding to my email, confirming that he would make the repairs and with a time frame. So I don't think either one of them are really I think they're both, I would expect some action of some kind, at least planning by the end of January.
And a
Okay,
question.
great.
The only one, just one more thought, real quickly. I have not reached the owner. I don't have any contact information for the owner of the Rose Garden. Ryan, you were helpful on the other two, so I don't know if anybody here knows them. I believe the address is somewhere near LaSalle, Peru, out of the village. And so I'm still trying to, I have a contact name and an address. I just don't have a phone number or an email address. So if I'm not, and I'm also a little reluctant to push too hard there without knowing the situation with the operators of the Rose Garden. We don't want to do anything that would cause them to be evicted or cause their rent to go up. They're struggling as much as anybody is right now. So, but I am still trying to make contact there.
I might have that information I got from Rose Letheby on the village building, so let me check.
Okay.
Oh,
I can also just go over and ask Tony or Anna, for contact, but I haven't done that yet.
Okay, thank you, Jay. As you know, this is obviously, that's a topic that really means a lot to us. So I appreciate that you continue to stay on top of it. So moving on to item number 6, which is Hampshire's very own. I spoke to Jeannie Mayer today. She's got an interview scheduled with the Vintage Hammer tomorrow. So after her interview, typically it's 3 to 5 days to a week, and then we get the article. So I think the article should go out probably right around the next, maybe 10 days or so, I would think would be the outer edge of that. So we're going in that direction. Okay. Oh, I thought I heard someone wanting to say something. So, and then we've got Stanley Machine for January, Hampshire Animal Hospital February, Randy's Ross's Gas and Pump in March, and then Roy's Place in April. And I think I forgot to add 6 was Jimmy's Sports Bar. Does anybody have any thoughts on that direction? Anything else?
Hey, Brian, we had in the minutes last month, it was Roy's Place in April, Mama Tomb in May, and then Jimmy's Sports Bar in June.
You're correct. I just saw that. Thank you. All right, so I'll make a note there. We'll go 7 there. Okay, are we comfortable with that list?
I think so.
Okay, excellent. All right. Does any? Well, here, I guess I contemplated. I've thought about this for a while, and I feel like. Does anybody have any other new business or anything we want to share? Jay, do you have anything else that you want to share?
That's okay.
All right. So this has been weighing on me for some time, and so I just wanted to take an opportunity to share this with you guys personally while we're sort of in this meeting. Working with you guys has been an incredible pleasure, and it's one of the proudest things that I've had the opportunity to do in my career. And I feel like coming here pretty soon, it's going to become, past the deadline. But I wanted to share with you guys specifically that I've come to the conclusion that this is going to be my single term serving on the village board. I weighed and wrestled with the decision for a long time. And specifically this group is a key part of, I think, the work that I've had the opportunity to do has been done in conjunction with you guys. And I wanted to be the person to share it with you, share this information. I'm grateful for all the energy and the effort and the commitment to the projects and the directions that we've tried to take on this board. I certainly hope that the opportunity for me to serve this board may open up, over time. And if it does, I would certainly welcome serving on this board. But serving the village board, given the other obligations that I have, has just proven to be something that I'm grateful for the time that I had. But it's time for me to move on. And I hope that everyone here continues with the mission, because I think we've made a significant impact on the village. And I think there's a lot more work that we still have left to do. And I just wanted to, I just kind of awkward. I almost thought about skipping and not sharing it with you, but I care so much about all of you that I felt like I owed it to each of you to share it with you personally. So I'm grateful for the opportunity to serve with you guys. And if the opportunity would arise again as a citizen and not as an elected official to serve on this board again, I certainly would welcome that going forward. I'll be having conversations with Jeff and Jay and talking about, just sharing my input on maybe who would be best to sort of take over the role that I played in this commission. But ultimately it will be up to, I think, the next set of elected officials that come through. So anyways, I just wanted to share it with you personally. I would feel bad if you guys heard it from someone else just because we've done so much work together. So I just wanted to, like I said, share that with you guys personally and let you know how much I really loved working with you guys. This is probably my favorite part about serving the village was working in conjunction. And no disrespect to the rest of the trustees, but I think we've had a really special group, and I really hope that the work continues because I think it's important.
I say bullshit. I'm gonna start a petition to get you back on the board. I gotta fake your signature. It's gonna happen.
I second that.
Go on my LinkedIn thing, you see what I'm involved with, so I say bullshit. Start community service. And, quit your whining and get it done. You've been a good thing for Hampshire. Stop it.
You have been good for Hampshire.
Don't accept this. Bullshit.
Yeah. You'll be greatly missed. I don't think that's a wise decision.
Yeah.
Yes, I appreciate
Not here, Ryan. You can't leave.
Well, there are some, it's something that I've weighed a lot. There's the prospect of my wife and I might be moving in the next 4 years. There's that, as well as, I've got some other, there's the possibility I may run for a state office or I may run for a national office. Those are things that I've considered. I've, been in consultation with some people on that topic. I don't know if I like politics yet. It's been 4 years. I'm still not 100% sure.
Stay local, dude. Don't go to state. No, are you nuts?
Well, I know,
But we need you.
Whatever you do, you'll be a huge contributor, no matter what you do.
Yes.
But I don't care to give you moving too.
Yeah, I know. So I did, like I said, I wanted to share that with you guys personally, and I really, it's sincere. Doing the work that we've done, and I was talking to the mayor the other day, and he listed the facade program as potentially the most successful in his mind program that we've ever pushed through the village of Hampshire in his 16 years of serving. And I think we should all be extraordinarily proud of that. When I drive down through town and I see the improvements that we made to the buildings that are there and the overall improvement of the downtown and what's coming, which I think we were helped a little bit in the streetscape planning as well. I thought we led on that as well. We've accomplished a lot, and I think it's fantastic. But we've got a lot of great people on this board, and so I'm confident that work will continue.
Ryan, is your seat up in April?
It is, yeah. So the deadline is to file. I think it's the 21st of this month.
Yeah. How many seats are up in April? Is it just 2?
There's 3.
3, that's what I thought.
Yep. And I think that is Mike Reed, Christine Klein, and myself. We all ran at the same time. And I believe Mike is, he's announced it publicly, he'll be running for mayor. And so there'll be, 2 seats potentially up for new trustees. So if anybody's interested, I will walk and knock on doors for you. That's my promise to anybody who runs, or help in any way that I possibly can, because it can be a tricky process sometimes.
I will just say that your leadership for this committee will be tremendously missed because you have a heart and a passion for it. And I don't know the village board well enough or who will be elected to know that they would have the same passion. So you will be missed.
Amen.
Thank you, guys. That means a lot to me.
You're also really, really smart. And you can have bad. No, that is not, not a given. You're just smart and nice. So
thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. I promise I didn't say this to elicit these reactions, but I am grateful for them.
Good guy, Ryan. If you run for a state office, don't let it change you.
I'm going to try not
These
to.
are gone,
See.
yes.
I know. Ian
Say-
told me I should not even think about it. So
No,
that's simple
no.
time.
And that's like migraine headaches.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So, all right, guys, that kind of brings us to the end of the day. If anybody, if I don't have anything else or anybody else doesn't want to share anything at this point, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
One quick thing, of course, you know, I'll leave the goodbye for April,
Excellent.
because you're still here for another quarter of a year. So,
I know.
we will definitely still do great things up until that point. But that being said, just curious if we have any updates on the Main Street.
Oh, geez, thank you. That was on my list. Yeah.
Grant.
Jay, do we have anything new to report on that, on the streetscape?
On streetscape?
Yeah.
Well, Josh is actually the most current. He's been working with Freddie the last few weeks on all the documentation, but I think I just asked him today, so why don't you give us all an update, Josh?
Absolutely. So we received our notice of award. I think that was the case at the last meeting as well. And so now there's a whole nother round of documentation and review that has to take place before we can actually get the money and start the work. The biggest thing being an environmental review, which is a grant writer thing, not an engineering thing. As we learned, for example, one of the tasks that has to be complete is all of the Native American tribes in the area have to be notified and given the opportunity to comment. And according to Freddie Beth Schmuddy, it's a double-digit number, which I was surprised by, but that's just one of the things. So that process will probably take at least a couple of months, and that's the next approval that we're working for. All the other documentation that we were asked to complete has already been completed, so it's really just that environmental review. And then I should have checked the timeline that Freddie gave me a few months ago, but I think right after that, once that's approved, we can start spending or not paying the engineers, but incurring costs for them to start doing work. So in conjunction with the environmental review taking place, we'll also have to go through a formal request for qualification process and then the project.
Awesome.
That's great.
Awesome. And the environmental, Josh, I'm sure because you're talking to Freddie, we don't need to have that done by 12/31, correct?
No, yeah, that's correct. It's supposed to be done within 90 days of when we got our award letter. Freddie said that she's never actually seen that happen, and they always waive the requirement. And she even got the deputy director in charge of this program to send us an email that said that we will not get our grant revoked if we don't make it within 90 days. Because I was nervous about that.
Yeah. Okay. It'd be like
But there's
pulling a hamstring,
nothing else that we're expecting by the end of the year. It's in terms of, our project is approved. Now we just have to meet all the requirements of the project.
So we're clear the deck. Okay. All right, guys. Fantastic. That is great work. I know we kind of got that news last time. Go ahead.
Well, I just want to say, the information I got from Rose Letheby is that the Rose Garden is owned by Ramadani.
Right, I have the name. I just don't have a phone number or an email address.
Got it. Sorry. Okay.
Thanks.
Okay. Awesome. All right. Do we have, so anyways, congratulations, guys. I tell you, we were in, my son and I were in Elgin, because that's where he lives. And I was driving home with him in the car, and we looked at Elgin had the lights strung across the street right on, what is that? Does anyone know? I think it's Dexter, right where the.
Douglas.
Yeah. And it
Douglas.
looks fantastic. I mean, it really
It does.
looks cool. So that's, so I'm hoping come summertime this year, 4th of July, maybe even Labor Day, we can have one heck of a grand opening of that downtown area. And I think we should all be pretty proud of that. So that's fantastic. Thank you, Josh and Jay, for getting with Freddie and getting all that done. That's been a major project for over 3 years. And at that, I guess everyone have a great holiday. Enjoy your family. Hopefully you enjoy it from a distance so we can maintain the control of the virus. I know I keep harping on that, but I wish everybody a happy, healthy, safe, and grateful and thankful, holiday in a year where we have, if you haven't been ravaged by this virus, we have a lot to be thankful for relative to those who have really suffered at its hands. So I wish you guys all a great holiday season, and I look forward to getting together in January.
All right.
You too.
You.
Thank
All right,
you.
happy holiday.
Bye, everybody.
And so
Wait.
I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All right, all those in favor?
Bye.
All right, meeting adjourned, guys.
Second.
Happy holidays, Merry Christmas, Kwanzaa.
Who seconded that?
Susie did.
Okay.
Bye, guys.
All right.
All right.
Bye.
Thanks again.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Take care.